Hello and welcome to Mind, Body, Sleep, the podcast for anyone out there who wants to understand and recover from insomnia using a holistic perspective. I'm Beth, Kendall, your host. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode number 40. I can't believe it. I'm so happy to be with you today. This week, I'm talking all about the concept of time and how it pertains to insomnia. So this is the perfect podcast for anyone who feels stressed out by time when they can't sleep. It's for the person who is really good at doing sleep math and crunching numbers in the middle of the night. If you feel more and more pressure to sleep as you watch time tick on throughout the night, I'm going to give you a tool today that can help with all of that. One of the biggest things I took away from my experience with insomnia was a deeper understanding of time. If you're familiar with my work, then you know I love exploring the big ideas around how we create meaning in our lives. And my relationship with time certainly did provide me with the opportunity to do just that. So today I want to share how insomnia can change the way we think about time and what we can do to stop time from feeling like a trap when we can't sleep. To give you a bit of a roadmap, I'm going to first share a little Greek mythology with you that I think illustrates a concept of time so beautifully. Then I'm going to walk you through one of the best behavioral tools you can possibly use to quiet some of the layers of anxiety that come with not being able to sleep. And finally, I'll answer a few of the most common questions people ask me about time. So the Greeks think about time in two different ways. The first form of time is what they call chronos. And this is the kind of time that basically makes the world go round. It's a linear form of time, so it's fixed. A second equals the same as every other second. A minute lasts as long as every other minute. It's mechanized time, and it's what allows 8 billion people to live on the planet without total chaos, right? We need chronos. And this kind of quantitative consensus about time so we can travel and make appointments and just coordinate our lives. But there is another form of time that the Greeks call kairos. And kairos could be described as a more qualitative form of time. It's the kind of time that is outside of mechanized time, a sort of timelessness. Kairos is the flow state that you've heard me talk about in past episodes. It's when you're in a state of awe or curiosity. It's the falling in love state where time doesn't seem to have much rhyme or reason at all. Kairos time is when time stops and everything seems possible. So it's the moments that stand out from the linear flow of time. Now, I share this story about Chronos and Kairos because I see time leading to a lot of suffering and rumination in the world of insomnia. And I am no stranger to this suffering because time caused me a lot of angst in a lot of ways, especially when I was going through insomnia. One of the things I recommend in the mentorship is detaching yourself from time as much as possible at night. So basically just throwing out the clocks. And there are two big reasons I like this behavioral tool. So let me share those with you. The first reason I like this tool is because it's so tangible, right? It's like low-hanging fruit. It's something you can actually do versus some of the less tangible aspects of recovery, which revolve more around awareness and understanding. And as I mentioned, I view time as a sort of trap when you're going through insomnia. Truth be told, I view time as a big component in many of the diseases of despair because it creates so much monitoring and anxiousness and hypervigilance to the point where you become stuck in time. So you're not just worried about the future and you're not just ruminating on the past, you're actually anguished by the next moment and the constant monitoring of your own physiology. So it creates this sort of stuckness. Time causes us to hold on instead of let go. We get in this state of hyperrigidity and analysis. And it's almost impossible not to do sleep math when you're focused on time, because that's just what our brains do. I would put all kinds of unintentional pressure on myself by calculating how much sleep I could get if I fell asleep by a certain time. And then I'd stress over how I was going to get through the next day based on those numbers, which usually involved multiple different scenarios. So all of this was ramping up hyperarousal and creating some pretty high stakes in my mind about sleep, which I didn't realize at the time. So the first reason I like the idea of going timeless is because it fulfills our natural desire to do. We like to know what we can do, and this easy tool is something that falls nicely into that category and has a lot of bang for its buck in terms of shaking off some of the pressure. The second reason I like the idea of going timeless, and the most important one in my view, is that it implies a certain amount of trust. Trust is a big part of my approach. And if you want to hear more on that, you can go back to episode 24, which is called, Is Trust the Antidote to Insomnia? I personally consider that episode to be the most meaningful one I've done so far. So do check that out. But here's the thing about sleep, you guys. It happens outside of time. It's a surrender process, a letting go process. It happens on Kairos time. I love the way Ruben Nyman writes about sleep. He says, the Industrial Revolution radically transformed our perception of sleep from a gracious, transcendent experience to a mechanistic biomedical process. His use of the word transcendent is so lovely because sleep is such a hard thing to describe. No one really knows how to explain it because it exists beyond a state of language, right? He also says, like a wild thing, sleep was lured from its home in nature and domesticated in service of industrial life. And today, like a pet, sleep is fenced in, caged, or corralled. We constrict sleep with delayed bedtimes and advanced rising times, policed by a mechanistic alarm clock. Would we consider setting an alarm to truncate other natural human experiences? Imagine setting an alarm to limit time spent enjoying a meal or making love. And again, I just love this view so much because it speaks to how much time can hijack our innate sense of knowing. It turns us into machines versus just a part of the natural world. Every up has a down. Every day has a night. Every light has a dark. And every wake has a sleep. I don't think sleep is meant to be ruled by time. And with insomnia, we become stuck in time versus free of time. And sleep comes in the space when we're not fixated on time in such a pressure-filled way. So getting rid of the clocks is a good way to liberate yourself from a lot of unhelpful narratives around sleep. And you might just find that you really like having a part of your day that isn't centered on time. I personally still go timeless. I have a battery-powered clock by my bed, and once I got out of the habit of checking the time at night, I became less sensitized to time and all the ways it could affect my sleep. Okay, So there are a couple of questions that I get about time that may be helpful to talk about. The first one is, do I have to go timeless to recover from insomnia? And the answer is no, you definitely do not. I didn't go timeless until the tail end of my recovery, and everything in my approach is a recommendation versus a requirement. I think these tools are best implemented when you really want to do them versus feeling like you have to do them, because then we're stepping off the hamster wheel of doing things to fix sleep. And it's coming from a much more intrinsic place. My goal with this podcast is to offer a different perception of time and inspire you to look at timelessness through a new set of eyes, because who doesn't need a little more kairos in their lives, right? But ultimately, it's always up to you. And I think your intuition and inner guidance system can be an excellent way to know if something is right. Now, the other question I get is, how can I go timeless when it feels so scary? So this is someone who wants to go timeless, but is feeling a lot of uncertainty or loss of control at the prospect of letting go of time. And this is so normal and so common. Whenever we approach something like this, I like to say, use courage without pressure. And this can actually be a great opportunity to figure out some of the underlying beliefs you might have about sleep that are creating a fear of going timeless. So you can just grab a pen and paper and finish this sentence by writing down your answers. And the sentence is, it's important to check the time at night because. So finish that sentence and then look at what you wrote and ask yourself two questions. Is it true? And is it helpful? The last most common question I get is, what if I have to look at the time sometimes during the night? And you guys, this is totally okay. It's a tool versus a rule. And I think sometimes just for practical purposes, it makes sense to look at the time, and it's not a problem. We're not going for perfection. I hope this episode on time was a helpful one. Please do consider leaving a rating for the podcast. That helps me out so much. Wishing you all many moments of kairos in your lives. I'm Beth Kendall, and this is the Mind, Body, Sleep podcast. Bye for now. Thanks for being here today. If you love what you heard on today's episode, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the podcast. And if you need more support with your sleep, join me in the Mind, Body, Sleep Mentorship. This 3-month one-on-one program will transform your relationship with sleep so you can get back to living the life that you love, free from the fear of not sleeping. Head on over to bethkendall.com for more details. I'll see you next time.